One of the major focuses of our Parsha this week is the unique status of the role of the Levim, the Levites. If you remember, it was the Levim that would go on to replace the firstborns as the ones chosen to serve and to work in the Mishkan and ultimately in the Beit HaMikdash in the temple. And throughout the time in the Midbar in the wilderness, it would be the Levim who were assigned the roles of dismantling, of transporting, of rebuilding the Mishkan each time the Jewish people would travel and encamp. But more than that, the Levim were also assigned roles that would apply even once the permanent Beit HaMikdash was built, even once the physical structure of the temple was built. You see, the Levim's primary jobs, as discussed by Chazal, involved shmirah, standing guard around the temple, and also shir, singing songs and playing instruments as musical accompaniment to the service in the Mikdash performed by the Kohanim. In fact, to this day, we recite a psalm of the day referencing the singing performed by the Levim in the temple. But when we take a step back and we look at these unique roles, something remarkable emerges. Rav Asher Weiss teaches that these two responsibilities of shmirah and of shir, of guarding and singing, reflect the kind of aura that must be maintained with respect to Torah and mitzvos. The shmirah around the temple was not intended to protect it from thieves or marauders, but rather it served as a demonstration of respect and reverence to the sacred site. The presence of the Levim as guards lent the Beit HaMikdash, the temple, a certain dignified aura, befitting the representative residence of the Almighty, the home of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Lahavdil, it's the type of security that a celebrity or a famous person might enjoy. And the shira, the singing, of course, serves a very different purpose. The singing created an atmosphere of festivity, of excitement. The music played and sung by the Levim had the effect of making a visit to the Beit HaMikdash an uplifting, inspirational experience, a source of incredible joy, of which visitors would want to avail themselves on a regular basis. Coming to the Beit HaMikdash, pilgrimaging to the temple, it would be a moment that you'd never forget because of the work of the Levim and the joyous atmosphere that they would create. And perhaps we can suggest that we each can learn from this dichotomy the path to living our most holy life in the Mikdash. You see, it's critical that we infuse our Avodat Hashem with both of these elements, both reverence and joy. And yet, if we think about it, it's these two emotions and perspectives that can very much be seen as opposites and requiring a very delicate balance. As the Rambam writes in Hilchot Yesodei HaTorah, it's this dialectic between reverence and joy that animates the life of the service of Hashem. And perhaps there's nowhere that we see this dialectic more clearly than in regards to Talmud Torah and the study of Torah itself. In just a few days, over Shavuot, we will be celebrating the greatest gift in human history, the giving of the Torah at Sinai. And the Gemara in Brachos emphasizes that just as the revelation at Sinai was in reverence and with fear and with trembling, so too in every generation, Torah must also be studied with a sense of reverence, fear, a quaking and a trembling. And yet, on the other hand, the Gemara on Tani describes the joy that we know that comes with Torah study, as we can see from the proof text regarding the prohibition of studying Torah on Tisha B'Av, on a day of so much sadness that we're not even allowed to enjoy anything, not even Torah. But more than that, the Gemara in Brachos teaches that each day of Talmud Torah is beloved to its students as the day on which it was given at Sinai, which we'll be celebrating in just a few days. And while finding this balance is difficult, the service of the Levim perhaps reminds us that the two are, in fact, perfectly compatible and are supplements to one another. You see, we are able and required to approach Torah and mitzvos with a sense of awe and reverence, while at the same time delighting in and drawing satisfaction from our service of Hashem. Just as the temple was a place of both awe and serenity, so must we approach Torah with both the serious-minded attitude that it demands, but also the joy and also the enthusiasm that it naturally inspires. And so may this Shabbat and Shavuot serve as the perfect opportunity to blend and to balance these beautiful and holy ideals. Shabbat Shalom.